Instagram.
No.
Then
Turn it this side. Hello, we are live.
देखिए
Okay, we need to go. Hello, hello ma'am, I will just add you.
say now what do you want.
Am I visible? Yes. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Perfect. Hi, Rijishka.
Hello ma'am, how are you?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm great. So I think without any delay, we should get started.
Mm-hmm.
And let me start by introducing Kids OK Please. So Kids OK Please, at Kids OK Please, we are a complete children-focused ecosystem where we talk about and we focus on making childhoods more special, we make corporate areas more child friendly. All the real estate around children, we make it more child friendly. So this is the Kids OK Please live, and today we have Miss Vishakha. Ma'am, I will give you an introduction. To introduce our So our today's topic is education, and ma'am is an educational consultant. So we will be revolving around that topic itself. Just a second, ma'am. I think I am having some technical issues.
No problem. We are all dealing with it. Don't worry about it.
The weather actually is influencing the technical issues so much these days. Networks and everything, in fact.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. Okay, so to introduce our guest, Ms. Vishakha is an educator from Mumbai and has spent her entire career building meaningful learning experiences for children and moved towards to create an equitable world for children through her work. I'm sorry, ma'am. Okay. So we just introduced our guest, and let's go on to the move on to the discussion. We already have someone who's written something. I think that's a great start. Okay, so ma'am, to begin with, I'll keep it very simple about your journey. So I wanted to know that you have come back from the US. You studied and you have come back from the US. So can you tell us what did you study and or what did you do out there and when did you come back?
Sure. I'll give you a highlight about my journey and why the decision of
Yes.
coming back. So, after graduation, I started working with Akanksha Foundation as a teacher. And that
Okay.
was the most random decision ever. I started volunteering with them. I realized that I loved the space, I loved the classroom experience, I love working with kids, and really that that one experience completely changed my entire career. I wanted to go into management consulting and do a lot more in the business world, but really that one classroom experience completely changed everything I was doing. Uh, Post which I realized that I was not the best teacher out there. I think there were better teachers who could actually engage children in much better ways. I was better behind a desk, someone who's actually designing these experiences, and decided to get an MBA. I moved to the US, spent about 5 years there. Um, in the US, there's a lot of restriction on what you can do and how you can do it, and maybe working with the education space at that point of time wasn't the best. um, in terms of environment, which is why I decided in 2016 to pack my bags, come back, and really work in the education space here. Um, Not the easiest decision. I think we all have dreams. American dream is still alive within a lot of us. But I lived my dream for 5 years and decided to come back, and I've never regretted it. I think what I want to do is much more needed in this country. I think we need to design a lot better in terms of what our education system needs. And what I'm doing right now is perfect. I think it gives me the opportunity to work with multiple organizations. COVID has really opened our eyes to what education was and what
Yes.
it needs to be.
Yes.
So, all in all, a very diverse journey, but I'm very happy with where I am. And uh, thank you for inviting me. This is my first live conversation. So I've had a sleepless night. Thanks to you.
It's a honor, ma'am. So, like you said, the difference between actually being in front of the desk teaching somebody and the difference in being behind the desk consulting somebody. So, what was it like in the difference?
So the energy that you need in front of the classroom is at least 10x, right? Your entire gesture, your behavior, your movement in the classroom also defines how your relationship with the children is and how well they engage with you and how well they learn, right?
Right.
What I can do designing on a laptop is 1x energy of what I need to do in the classroom. And to the teachers who are joining us or who are going to be listening to this, hats off to you. Especially when it comes to where we are today and you are designing offline and online teaching at this point, please just like take a salute from all of us. It's not an easy job.
True, true. So, as now we come to designing of, so how exactly does the designing in the educational space, what are we referring to when we talk about designing in consultancy?
So it's very simple, right? There are four things in a learning experience that come together. The first is the student, the second is the teacher, third
Right,
is the learning outcome,
right,
and the fourth is the environment,
right,
right? Most
right,
organizations will focus on a couple of these, but what we need is to focus on all four of these. Otherwise, you will not be able to get children engaged in the classroom space. You will not get to see peer learning. You will not get to see children who are creative, who are compassionate. Uh, you will only get to see children who want to sit and rote learn and just pass exams, which is what we don't want. So designing
right.
is really wearing a very creative hat and understanding how is the environment of the child really helping the child learn better.
Okay, so it's more like making, if I could say, education fun,
Absolutely.
if that is what I could say. I
Absolutely. Very
think
true.
we have a little.
Yeah, we have a little bit of
Okay,
lag, but I think we can come back.
yeah. So, coming on to my next question is that what are the organizations that when you came back, what is it and where is it that you started your pathway of education from?
Um, I've been in this space for a while, so I think when coming back, my decision was to just either work with a very small startup or do something of my own. Now, I wasn't really ready to start by myself because it takes a lot, right, to start up on
Right,
your own.
right,
So I thought of joining a small startup where I could do everything. Also work with people, learn from them because it's very important. I think working with colleagues is extremely important when it comes to your own learning. So when I came back, I researched small teams who are working on what I was excited about. I wanted to work in the literacy and numeracy space. I looked up people who were doing that, who were mastering it, who needed some help in terms of the experience side of it. Um,
right.
and yeah, I think that decision was a very good one because I got to learn everything in that experience. When I came back, I was not just doing curriculum, I was doing teacher training, I was doing a lot of product development as well. And that really gave me that breadth of experience that I needed to start on my own.
Right. So currently, are you doing you're doing something on your own currently?
I'm doing short-term projects with different
Okay.
nonprofits and startups,
Okay.
mostly COVID responsive work at
Right.
this point because everyone's trying to
Right.
figure out what to do. Right? Schools are not opening, kids are at
Right.
home. How do you really engage them
Right.
um, without the peer interaction, without teacher engagement, right? So a lot of changes in the way we think has been seen in the programs and eventually join another large startup eventually, maybe in the
Right.
next couple of months.
So now talking about COVID and the entire situation around, everybody is talking about it. Everybody is like,
Yeah.
kids have so much screen time. This education, they don't get it correctly because obviously it's very different in a classroom and it's very different when it's just on a screen. So
Right.
now that we're talking about this and you are doing also short-term projects around it, can you tell us a little bit about what it is like in the pandemic in regards to education?
So I think the pandemic for education space is a blessing in disguise. At least that's what I want to see it like. Uh, we know what we were doing isn't working.
Right.
The idea of classroom where children are just sitting and rote learning and trying to figure out what do they need to do to pass an exam, that's not working, right? What we are looking at this point is um, competency based learning, right? Like what skills do you need in life to really achieve what you want, like building
Right.
that curiosity. And
Right.
we are seeing that, and of course it's a long term process, nothing is going to
Right.
change anytime soon,
Yes.
but now I've seen that educators and organizations want to take a step back and look at foundational skills, and they're
Right.
not worried about loss of learning. They're not really worried about um, मेरे बच्चे का क्या होगा एक साल तो चला गया, right? How much does 1 year matter in this entire lifetime of our, right?
Right.
It's a change that's coming in parents. It's a change that's coming in teachers, educators. I think it's a blessing in disguise, but we have to keep working towards it and be hopeful.
Right. So you spoke about the skills that a child should develop, and that is going on. In fact, it definitely is a blessing in disguise because there's so many things that we people normally also weren't aware of. So many responsibilities, day-to-day things, and even otherwise. And so, what exactly are the skills that we are looking at for the child to develop?
So it's very simple, right? So let's look at you and me, right? You and me are, I would say, we come from some sort of privilege that we have, that we are
Right.
here today, right?
Right.
What is this privilege coming from? We are coming from a place where we've had a safe environment. We've had basic skills to get through life, which is communication skills, which is
Right.
being creative in the field of choice.
Right.
As simple as um, doing simple numeracy when you need it, when you talk to a
Right.
rickshaw or
Right.
speaking in English,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
These are really privileged skills that I don't think a lot of children out there are going to get. And that's where we need to focus on, where it's not just about Pythagoras theorem. Again, I do think it's important. It gives you the understanding of how to use logic, but
Right.
it's not something that's going to help you 20 years down the line.
Right.
So
True.
every educator that I speak to, I think everyone's going back and thinking, okay, competencies mein kya aata hai?
Hmm.
It's how to really interact with others, how to build
Right.
relationships, how to be
Right.
a social human being,
Hmm.
not someone who
True.
can just sit and learn something and apply it on a paper, right, on an exam paper, right? Everyone's going back and thinking, okay, what did we basic needs kya the education ke, and how do we replicate that in the model now?
Right. So more of the practical basis of handling life than looking at more of the educational point of view, if that is what I got.
Absolutely. I come from the mindset that if you're making education engaging, learning, and
Right.
skill based, and of course there is curriculum that the government has for us. There are multiple curriculums and all these things. Yes, of course. But if you forget the foundations, you will not have a child learning anything in that environment.
Right. coming to my next question, like we spoke about the government coming up with curriculums. What is it do you think that India is doing different or should do different in terms of education?
Oh, that's a longer conversation. So, if you look at India, we are divided into kids who go to the Ambani school and the high
Private.
end, right? High end private schools.
Yeah.
Then we have kids who go to affordable private schools, which are uh, not as good as government infrastructure, but they give you the tag of being private school student.
Yes.
And then we have
Yes.
government schools, which is uh, fabulous in infrastructure, maybe not as good in teaching, right?
Yes. Yeah.
The difference between these three is where our country needs to really look at, right? If we are taking education as a basic need,
Right.
that has to be equitable as well. Just because I went to a privileged school and someone else in the same age group went to a government school does not really mean that they should not get that kind of attention, that kind of teacher engagement, that kind of curriculum, that kind of infrastructure to succeed.
Right.
That gap needs to be bridged. I wouldn't say that private and public schools will ever really match. We are not there yet. But at least that divide needs to be closer, that the gap needs to be closed.
Right. So regarding this, I think we also have a question which said, what is your view of the new plan of Ministry of Education? Wherein I think they have created the 10 plus 2 into 5 plus 5 plus 3 plus 4. I think that's the new. So what is your view about it?
I think their head is in the right place, heart is also in the right place. Um, but there's no focus still on mastery, right? They are giving you the option of choosing what you want to do. But how do you actually choose that, and how do you create a platform where any child understands what their interest is and what they want to do is through experiments, is through projects, is through really exploring, right? You are not giving them a chance to really explore, but you're giving them the option of choosing it later,
Right.
right?
Right.
So
Right.
it's as simple as this, right? For you and I, going into commerce, arts, science, उतने ही options थे. I didn't want to go to either of these. I want to do education. I want to do something very different, but there was no
Right.
option, right? Our undergrad school system is also still pretty behind. I think we are still trying to figure out how to even catch up, right? How do you give the chance to really explore what you like before you have to take the decision? That gap is still there.
Right. So how do you think we can bridge this gap? Because like you said, practical experience, it's very, very important. Now that we have three different fields, which is art, science, commerce, it is so vast that we don't even know where we have to step in, what we have to do, what is it that we have to pick for later. So how is it that you suggest this gap could be filled?
So it has to start after grade 5 or 6. You have to go back. You have to go back when children are actually exploring and they are trying to understand what their likes are. We have options like sports, we have drama, right?
Yes.
Open these up,
Yes.
right? Open these up to a lot more and lot creative. And of course, there will be kids who will be confused even after that.
Yeah.
But at least you'll give plenty of them options to even choose the right things when they are giving the option, right? Start early.
Right. Right. I think this is an amazing idea. So what is it? Another question was that where that you spoke about working in startups and then creating something of your own in the coming time. So if I would say, where is it exactly that in 10 years we see, or 5 years, we see you doing something? What is it that you would want to put out?
So my idea is very simple, right? I think globally the education world is really isolated, right?
Yes.
There are tens and thousands of companies doing fabulous work in their own local communities, but it's not really out there. Like I still have to research what someone is doing in Brazil that really can be replicated in India, because the way we actually function as a society is similar, right? So for me as an educator, I have to dig very deep to understand what is it that I can apply to a country like India. So it's very simple. I think we have to collaborate better as a world when it comes to education. Really understand what's working, what's not, and nobody has to innovate constantly. You can apply something that has worked in a better context, right? So if I have to do something, I will work on the collaboration.
Right. So, is there anything, because you've seen two different cultures, you've been out there and now you're here in India. So, is there something that you see from your point of view where you say that, yeah, this was good out there and we could have done this over here?
That's a larger conversation. So I'll give you a couple of things that made sense to me when I went there. I think, firstly, the diversity of what I could choose in my MBA was vast. Like I could pick up as simple as economics and social anthropology as a second session, right? I think that wideness gives you an opportunity to also get your brain rolling,
Right.
right? I think that diversity of education is huge. And the second is the freedom. I'll tell you what freedom is when I talk about it. The freedom to choose what you want to do without having the pressure of what you should do. And I think kids are still facing it, right? I think it's still a lot of parental pressure and societal pressure, which is definitely a slow process, but it needs to get it to a point where if you're going to arts and starting to write poetry, that should be a thumbs up, because we need more of that, right? I think that freedom of choice is intense over there, and that's something that I really, really enjoyed.
Right. So it's more like the openness to be willing or to be allowed to do what you actually want to do.
Absolutely.
Right. So getting on to my next question is that how do you think we as Kids OK Place can be or try to be a part of what you are doing, or if there's any gap that we could fill in or do something?
So I know that you guys are working on fun learning experiences and engaging experiences, right? I think that's a great start, because we need it. We need a common platform where parents can actually understand what's available and explore, right? I think it's that ecosystem is required. But I do think that there is a lot more opportunity to open it up to not just kids from the privileged ecosystem, but also from affordable private schools. I think partnering with schools also is something that could be a huge scaling effort for you guys, because if you speak to schools, you will have.
I can't hear you. You're not audible. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. So I was saying that I think partnership with schools is something that you can look at for sure. I think it's a step onto scaling your efforts. Right. And the second, definitely, I would say that how do you really have children and parents take decisions together? And I understand that younger kids may not be really at the point where they can take the decision of what they want to choose. But if your age group allow for that creative boost that kids can explore on their own. Right? I think. Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, to add on to that, I also just actually while talking to you came up with this, that we can also have a lot of learning experiences which actually gives them an idea of what it is like in the future, the entire course, what it will be like in the future. Does that sound good?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that we forget is that there is a huge huge bridge between what's learning and what's fun and what's engaging, right? All three can
Right.
be combined,
Right.
right? I think that's the design part of it. Like, how do I make a maths lesson fun, engaging, and of course, kids are learning also. And for you guys also, it could be like an escape room, let's say, engaging experience, okay? But how do you really teach kids to solve problems through that?
Right.
Right? How do you combine both? And I think that's a great challenge that you guys are going to be solving. So I'm very excited for you and what you guys are going to do in the next couple of
Same.
years.
Same. Actually, everything's gone up online, and honestly, that it's so vast. Like even if you see classes in terms of education today, someone is teaching math, someone is teaching English. Everything is like
Yeah.
everything has
Yeah.
come up online, and there are so I personally had this question that there are so many different kind of boards these days. Like there is ICSE, there is
Hmm.
CBSE, there is IB. IB, of course, is not what you consider. But do you have any point of view through these boards? Is there something?
I personally am an ICSE
Yeah,
product. One of the biggest things that I learned very quickly was to put myself out there, stand in front of a stage, uh, reduce that stage fright. I was a part of multiple
absolutely.
projects. I think it
Absolutely.
makes a lot of difference.
Yes.
But there is also a case to say that SSC also has a lot of value. And the new boards, of course, are looking at learner-centric curriculums, right? It's not a lot about how much teachers know. It's more about how they can facilitate,
Right.
right? SSC still, I believe, according to me, is the most creative. The kind of textbooks you have, I
Right.
think ICSE sort of loses the value when you look at creativity,
Okay.
right? So I think each of these boards have a lot to offer. Um, Most of the decisions that parents take is mostly due to finances and their own aspiration for their children. I do think that any school you add uh, value through, take it to the next step, right? How do you really engage that child anywhere that he goes,
Right.
right? I think that stays with the parent, that stays with the child and the school environment. I have seen government schools uh, that had very minimal infrastructure. Teachers weren't as trained or weren't really so fluent in English, but the classrooms were absolutely gorgeous. They had so many activity materials. It was
Right.
activity based curriculum that they had designed, which was working really well for their children. So I think innovation can happen anywhere, right?
Right.
SSC schools also can be innovative. It's just that the mindset has to be the same, right? You have to make every learning experience fun, engaging, plus learning, right? It never is about only one of those.
Right. So, let's just check our chat box once to see if we have any questions, and then we can go ahead with it. Okay. So we have someone who said that they want to know the perspective, or they would love to know the perspective of how to make education more child-friendly, or not more learning-based, more experiential-based, like you said.
Um, the first pointer is definitely don't use your teacher as a knowledge bucket, use her as a facilitator, right? There is a
Okay.
difference between both. I think the teacher, the authoritative figure, takes the entire experience out of it, right? The
Right.
fear factor of having a teacher who's strict doesn't work. It might work in the short term. In the long term, if I didn't like the teacher, I didn't like the subject, and I don't still like it. Right? I think
True.
it's for most of the people out there that, oh, my maths teacher was really strict. That's why I didn't like maths because she used to yell at me.
Right.
And I still don't like maths because of the teacher, right? So it starts with how you are creating that classroom and how much how much is your child being focused on or the class being focused on and not just finishing the curriculum or finishing the assignments or finishing homework. These are all, I think, stepping stones but these are not the most important, right?
Right.
I think we all have to separate it.
Right. So, coming on to my next question, that we are looking at the environmental space of education through schools or through institutions. Is there anything that you would suggest from a parental point of view where a parent can help the child make the education more friendly or anything else?
Absolutely. I think we don't give parents as much credit that they need in a
Right.
child's learning experience and education, right?
Right.
I think the same goes with what I said about the teacher as well. If parents are strict, authoritative, and if a child is struggling, she or he will not go to the parent. It's as simple, right? Then
Right.
the gaps in learning widen quite easily when you don't have someone to fall back on and say that, oh, I don't know how to do this, can you help me?
Right.
Right?
Right.
If the in the learning journey, if the parent is like a support, a friend, a guide, I think that's the most beautiful relationship that can be in a child's learning journey. And I've seen parents who didn't really know too much about the content. It's just about being a supportive figure, and the child could be a lot more confident, had a lot more self-respect, could
Right.
really push themselves. So the
Right.
parent's role really has to be someone who just stands by
Hmm.
and a fallback on.
Right. Right. I think that is actually a very great thing for all the parents who are watching us to take back.
Yeah,
Wherein communication between the child and the parent is so important, because even these days you don't know what the child is actually going through unless you
yeah,
talk to
absolutely.
them. And it's very, very important in this times also, especially because they have no physical activities, everything is on the screen, they are sitting in one place. It's like that. So,
Yeah.
coming to our next question, I think let's talk a little more in detail. We've spoken about how we should make the learning more experiential, than more learning based. Um, so is there anything that you would like to cover in general, something that you would want to pin out to before I put my next question?
So I think all the parents and all the educators, whoever has joined and whoever is a part of this space, I think the one thing I would definitely like to say is that COVID is not going to create a learning loss. Don't assume that it's going to be a loss. What your child is working on right now is to cope with different changes in the environment, how to really be at home and spend time with family. And if they are on the screen too much, don't yell at them too much. I think if you create environment in the house where there are books around, activities around, I think that will be a great model. But this is a difficult time for a lot of us. Most of us, I think we're all going through struggles that maybe are not visible. So is your child. So let's be a little more kind. And it it does get better. Children are a lot more resilient than adults. So I think it's a good time to learn from them.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So
coming on to my
that's my 2 cents about how kids are dealing with it, and they they are better prepared for this than we are.
they're actually dealing with it very well. They don't crib
Yeah.
about going out, playing.
Yeah.
They're cooperating very well, in fact.
Absolutely.
Right. So going on to my next question. Now this entire pandemic, everything was very, very unexpected. So what is it that the module of the entire design that you had created, or the entire design that's created in general, what is the difference when it was before the pandemic, and what do you think will be the changes now?
So I've always tried to create all the learning experience through um, two lenses, right? One is how does one individual child go through their experience and really enjoy it and learn from it, right? Individual child. And the
Right.
second is peer learning. How does a child learn from the others around them, the
Right.
peers that they interact with every day? Now, most of my experience building is the first, where it's more focused on the individual child. And what I add now in the design is how do you really interact with parents and the people in your environment, whoever is available,
Right.
right? So that peer learning, that peer interaction, the competition, all that isn't really possible at this point. And I wouldn't say that uh, virtual peer learning really is as effective. I think it's a lot more taxing. It's taxing for us as well. So
Right.
I'm trying to create experiences where it's the child, the environment, and the parent, and whatever is available at home.
Right. So that
So that's
is
the biggest
somewhat
difference, and and I think it's a great learning for me as well because I've never worked in environments which are isolated.
right. So now that we talk about this and we spoke about the different boards that a school has, so do you have any point of view on homeschooling when it comes to, because now it actually practically almost is like homeschooling. So is there any point that you would like to provide for homeschooling in general?
So I've been also always very pro homeschooling. I think the the system of homeschooling is built really well. I think we think of homeschooling uh, as isolated schooling where there is no peer interaction, there is no classroom
Right,
environment, and all of these things are taken away from the child, right?
right,
Actual homeschooling has all of this, but also gives the child time to learn individually, right? Homeschooling isn't really just schooling from home. There is peer interaction, there is social interaction, uh, there is how to really learn in your environment, how to learn from your environment, from the people around you. And while there are cases when kids who have grown up in homeschooling environments don't really do well socially, I think those are exceptions. I don't think it's a rule. I'm very much for homeschooling. I've had fabulous experiences with homeschooling kids. Not here, unfortunately, mostly in the US. Uh, but I think it's a trend that's going to keep rising. Definitely something that people will take into consideration because that's the biggest safety aspect, right? You don't
right,
want your kids to interact with 30 others in the classroom.
right.
So the case for homeschooling is extremely high.
So like there's this one-to-one attention, importance, and even otherwise, the learning becomes way more clear in homeschooling than
Yeah,
it might be in normal school, in a normal classroom.
absolutely. And I'm sure the educators who, if they listen to this, will probably ban me. But I think there is value in thinking about homeschooling as an option at this point, especially when I think none of us want to go back to work, right? So why do we want to send our kids back to school?
Right, right.
Yeah.
So next, like you said that you have seen homeschooling cases. Is it anything different from the normal, or like people who actually go into those classrooms?
So the role of the parent is extremely engaging in homeschooling. That's the biggest difference, right? Homeschooling starts and ends with parent engagement,
Parenting, yes.
right? Whatever is happening right now has some percentage of homeschooling, but still the teacher is the facilitator online,
Right,
and teacher is the one who's responsible, right? Parent right now is also a supportive figure. In homeschooling, parent is the lead. Parent
yeah,
is the one who's teaching. And
yes.
there are other tutors to support and if needed, but that is still a very different model than what we are seeing right now.
Right. So who's listening, I think it's very important. In fact, right now also they are having such an important role. They must be almost feeling like a teacher
Yeah,
for the
absolutely.
kids who actually are at home sitting. They don't have anybody to ask doubts to that
Yeah,
frequently. It's only the parent
very
who's
true.
available. So that is what. So I think we've covered most aspects of it. Is there anything we have left light on? Any aspect?
So, I would love to know a little bit more about the different kind of learning experiences or engaging experiences that you guys have planned for, or the vision of the organization, and how can educators out there be a part of it? How do you see collaboration happening?
So we like I said, our entire module is to create the real estate around children more child friendly. When a child gets up and they have to go somewhere, anywhere at all, everybody knows people, places around this city are not extremely child friendly. People don't take their kids and go out to any certain place because there's nothing they could do over there. What we as Kids OK Please try to do is we try to create those places into be more child friendly, wherein again we talk about collaborations. Like you said, we talk about collaborations. We collaborate not only with educators but also with people who can provide anything at all in the educational field. For example, if we take a real estate area as simple as Starbucks, where a child has absolutely nothing to do. They go there and they don't have anything to do. Where we come in or where we step in is that we get Starbucks and we get an operator to come together and teach something to the child. So like, tomorrow a parent can take their child, go to Starbucks, they can have their coffee while the child learns about that coffee.
Nice.
Where we try to build in that little creation, that little knowledge based with a fun activity. That's not really only the aspect where we're looking. Our entire module is going to be way larger when we go on ground. When we go on ground, when we tie up places, when we take a little real estate area and we talk about how we can create it into being more child friendly, where it is a benefit to the child completely. So this is basically a little of what we look at, and which is why I wanted to know from your end, wherein from the educational point of view, if there's something that we can additionally do to fill in the gap.
So this is, firstly, I think this is a fabulous idea. I think, especially in a city like Bombay, I think kid-friendly areas are minimalistic. I think even as simple as uh, pathways aren't safe or kid-friendly, or uh, there's not too much innovation to really think about, okay, let's take the child here and let's figure out what to do, right?
Yes.
So, uh, a lot of startups that I've seen have been working on this as well. I think Anthill Creations is one of them, which has been working on creating gorgeous spaces for children, right? They take uh, parks out there which have been abandoned, like a
Yes.
lot of them in Bombay, and
Yes.
they recreate it.
Yes.
Right? A lot of people are looking at these isolated spaces and recreating them and creating like a space for children to just play. As simple as that, right?
Right.
So, uh, one of the things that I think comes to mind when you speak about creating learning spaces is to really keep it very open and very activity based, right? I think
Right.
going from home and a school environment and a teaching environment to a Starbucks, which is supposed to be fun, I think don't take the fun out of it. That's something which I keep telling everyone out there who is thinking about creating fun experiences, creative experiences, is to don't take fun out of it. And second is
Right.
to actually put the child as a decision maker. I think children are as creative as you and I.
Right.
So if you
So
want an idea, go ask a child.
I honestly, a child would be able to give an idea none of us would have thought of. Their perspective, their thinking, it is so vast, and there's no one to
Absolutely.
stop it. It's like a pure mind, just
Yeah.
giving out what's in the heart. So
Absolutely. There's
that's
no bias, right? There's no,
yeah.
oh no, this has been tried, or oh no, this has already been failed. I think a child is a pure perspective about how to make things interesting, and because that's what they're doing at home right now, right? They're trying to
Right.
occupy themselves when there are no
Right.
peers to play with. So it's for the child, and you will have a business model that will flourish.
Right. So the entire idea is to create experience with fun learning and education, and also having areas where children don't have to hesitate
Yeah,
to go. So
absolutely.
that's the entire idea. So I think we've covered most of it. I'll just go to the chat box once more to check if there's anything that we are left to talk about. Uh, I think we have a lot of people who really looked in. So there's something, the first trait of an exuberant teacher is being absolutely rooted. And that's what we clearly articulate from your orientation, right? It's true. That's true. That's true. So I
Thank you.
think we've okay. We got one question. How important is SEL to kids in the time of COVID?
Hi, Lakshmi. That's my friend, by the way. I told her to jump in. Um, so I don't think SEL and COVID really uh, need to be put together just because it is COVID times. I think we have forgotten that the learning journey needs to also focus on a child's mental health and the social capability, right? I
Right.
think now it's coming into play because everyone's upset about what's going on. Nobody is really looking at what's happening in the next few months, right? Everyone's living day to day. And
Yes.
we're talking about mental health quite a bit. We're talking about how kids are getting bored at home. So, SEL, yes, it's extremely important uh, during the time of COVID, but otherwise as well, because uh, we don't really put a lot of importance to emotional um, spaces in the classroom to really allow children to be themselves,
Right.
right? I think it's a lot about competition. It's a lot about who's getting
Right.
the first number
Yeah.
in the class, or it's more about who's getting the best marks. It doesn't really teach you to be compassionate. It doesn't really teach you to be humble or be helpful. I think these are all really essential. I wouldn't say skills. These are just like human being 101s that we all need to instill into our education space everywhere. Not just curriculum, even as teachers, as parents. It has to be everywhere. So hopefully, Lakshmi, I answered your question. I think it's important right now, but it's going to be important a lot more after as well.
Right. Perfect. So I think we've covered most of that, and like you said, the skills that I acquired. People these days, they're so lost, and it's such a race. Like you said, even adults, for a matter of
Yeah,
fact, everyone's running for something that's just out there, and nobody. These times have taught people a lot of skills, and I think
yeah,
children are also acquiring it very, very well.
absolutely.
So I think this is it. We have reached to an end. We've covered most of the points, a lot of aspects, and anybody who's missed it can go on to our page and see it. It's going to be right there. Thank you so much, Vishaka ma'am. It was amazing to have a chat with you. It was actually very vast, the entire conversation. A lot of aspects, even I learned a lot of aspects we got to know from you. And being a design consultant for education is actually something that is sounds very interesting actually, and knowing
Yeah.
it from your point of view is it was a complete different experience. So thank you
Thank you so
so much.
much. Um, Thank you for inviting me. Firstly, I think it's important to talk about all these aspects of
Right.
education that are coming up, right? I think the spaces, the environment, the way we teach, everything is now going to be churning. And the
Right.
more we get on that change wave, the better it is going to be for our children. And
Right.
I think what you guys are doing is amazing. It's
Thank
much needed.
thank
So keep in touch. I'm sure we'll collaborate and we'll
you.
do a lot more for our kids.
Sure, sure. And like we had spoken about, I think also I would like to add that this platform, this conversation, gave a lot of insight to parents who are actually struggling, or who actually, like, it's a complete different experience. They don't know. It's very, very different. So I think this conversation was lovely. And we'll definitely keep in touch. Everybody, if there's anything, you can put it down on our comment section, and maybe we can get back to you about any questions related
Absolutely.
to the chat.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Thank
I'm more
you.
than happy to answer questions. And thanks, Idishka.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.